Hello and welcome to another episode of Building Stuff Rocks. This is episode 5 and I am back from vacation. I've been to the United Arab Emirates and I had the chance to take these beautiful pictures in the desert. And this guy here was actually a guide, and it was this beautiful sunset, and he just walked down the dune and sat down to take a picture. And I was like, wow, this is a very nice motive. So I took like 20 pictures of him. And yeah, I think it came out really nicely. So yeah, I had a very nice and relaxing vacation, but now back to our little project. I think what we need to do now is to add our tools and resources to our tutorials. And I'm going to open the project and get started right away. Okay, now if you remember from the previous episodes, we have a field and a tutorial model. And a field has an ID and a name, and a tutorial has an ID and a reference to a field and a title and a body. Now I'm gonna add a tool and resource model, and I think both of them will have an ID and also a name, and both will have, of course, a reference to the field. So I'm going to duplicate this tool and now the resource, and both of them will need a reference to a field like a tutorial, and of course we will need a tool and a resource service. Now let's actually write a test for this tool service. And I'm going to copy this code in our tool service spec file. And we don't need the router, we need a tool service from this directory. Like this, and we don't need this and this. Okay, the first test is working, and we should also test if it fails. Alright, so this works. And now let's write a test to get a single tool, and it should equal to this one. Alright. Nope. Oh yeah, tool. Alright, and let's check if it fails. Okay. And the resource service will look basically the same as the tool service. So I'm going to copy this and just replace tool with resource. Alright, I had to rename the spec name, but now it works fine. Next, we need to assign some tools and resources to our tutorials. So I'm going into the tutorial service and I'm going to add a tool IDs array, and of course I need to add it to the model too. So tool IDs, I hope it works like this, I'm not exactly sure, oops, and resource IDs, and let's resource IDs. Okay, but now we also need a method in the tool service called getToolsById, and it will take an ID array. Alright, this one should fail now because we are querying ID 1 and 2 and it checks to equal ID 1 to 3. T is not defined. Oh, okay, that's true. It did just return one tool. So yeah, I need to remove this. Now it returned 2 tools. And if we remove the 3rd tool, then it should be green. Okay. Okay, I've also added a get resources by ID method to the resource service and also added a test. And we should maybe rename this method to get resource by ID, but we can do that later. Okay, now we will need a tools and resources component that we will put like in between the tutorial title and the body. And I'm going to the tutorial detail and let's put it like here. Tools and resources. Okay, I'm going to implement these components right now and I'll see you in a bit. Alright, now you can see we have a tools and a resource list in our tutorial. So what I've done is I created a tool list and a resource list component, and I'm binding the tutorial that we get here from the tutorial page. So the tutorial is passed to the tutorial detail, and then the tutorial detail passes it to the tool list and the resource list. And I have also put them side by side with Bootstrap, so it will look like this. Now let's look at the tool list component. The tool list component loads the tools from the tutorial. It basically calls get tools by ID on the tool service and makes them accessible so they can be displayed in a Bootstrap list. And the resource list is basically identical because as for now the tools and the resources are identical. And of course I have created a tool list component spec. So I'm testing if the tools get loaded properly and assigned to the component. And I'm also testing if the load tutorials method is called on ng-on-init. And I think it looks pretty decent. I mean, it's not perfect. The layout can be improved, but I think it's okay for now. And what I really want to do is to clean this up. I mean, we have like a bunch of components now and the specs are in the same folder and it really looks like a huge mess right now. So what I want to do next episode is to clean this up and I don't know, maybe put the HTML and the styles into separate files so it looks a little bit cleaner. And as of now, I'm not sure if I'm using too many components. I mean, we have a tutorial page component that calls the tutorial detail component, and that calls the tool list component and the resource list component. I don't know, maybe it's a little bit too much, but I'm trying to understand the Angular 2 concept. So yeah, I want to do some cleaning up, and what I also really want to do is to add some real content in here, because right now it's some lorem ipsum code and yeah, tutorial 1, tutorial 2, tool 1, tool 2. That's a little bit boring. So yeah, next episode we will do some cleaning up and adding some real content. I have to think about what content I want to put here first. But I think this will make the page much more interesting and yeah, nicer to work with. So yeah, that's it for episode 5 and I will see you next time.